Big car owners beware.
It's just out of control.
Local councils could be coming for you.
Something has to be done.
In New South Wales, calls are growing for owners of oversized SUVs and pickup trucks to pay more for their parking on city streets.
If a child, for example, is struck by an SUV, they're 8 times more likely to die. SUVs are more dangerous for our roads and they take up more space as well.
Plans also underway in Victoria. Tomorrow, Yarra City Council in Melbourne will debate an Australian-first big car clampdown, including a possible parking fee hike for larger vehicles.
At the local council level, we don't have a huge amount of control over the vehicles entering our space. Parking is really a good lever to address concerns like trying to let kids walk to school, trying to make our streets safer for cyclists.
The move, inspired by the French, who last month voted to triple parking fees for large SUVs in Paris.
We know that larger vehicles, if they were gathered all together, they'd be the 6th most polluting country in the world. That's a lot of pollution.
Fuelled by generous tax breaks, sales of SUVs and light commercial vehicles, which includes utes, have surged from just 47% a decade ago to 78% last year.
I personally think they're way too big and it's so annoying.
When they're around the school zones, it possibly cause problems for children.
Well, I drive an SUV, so I guess I like them.
These Titanic trucks are so popular that last year regulators proposed lengthening the standard parking size by 20 centimetres.
A lot of people are boxed into driving these vehicles for the jobs that they do. People don't want to necessarily be driving enormous vehicles, especially if you're going to be slugging them extra for it.
So should vehicles that take up more of the road be forced to pay for the privilege?
I think that's unfair.
I would still buy the SUV even if the parking was higher.
They're bigger cars, they emit more gases, so I think it's fair, yes.
James Ward is from drive.com.au. James, do we know how this is actually going to work?
Well, this is the thing. The proposals, it's got a few great levels of intent, but they haven't actually detailed how it's going to go about. And when you think about it, what are you going to do? Are you going to need to weigh your car every time you come into the city of Yarra to do it? What they may do is use number plate recognition technology, some of the smart meters on the side of the road. If you put in your plate and it corresponds to being a heavy or a high-polluting vehicle, maybe then your parking meter fees go up. But I think this is all part of the initial discussion.
Well, these cars, they're pretty big, aren't they? Is it fair that cars that take up more of the road should pay more?
Look, yes and no. If you do need a larger vehicle, whether for family or for work, or maybe you live in Richmond but you've got a farm in Shepparton and you need to tow heavy things, who's to say you don't need a larger vehicle for whatever you do? And remember too that if you've got a bigger car, you're paying more in fuel and more in insurance, and that usually sort of ends up weighing things out as well.
But that's not what's happening, is it? It's not people buying these big cars out of need. We just like them, don't we?
Look, Australians do like a big car, and I think, look, the American-style utes do get a bit of a bad rap here. We're not selling that many of them, and they are predominantly used in regional areas. But your standard double cabs, your Ford Rangers and Toyota Hiluxes, they are everywhere. Now, in New South Wales already, the registration fees are taxed per the weight of the car. So if you have a little Fiat 500, you will pay less than someone who does have a Ford Ranger or a Ram.
But so this tax, could you see this sort of thing, these taxes on big cars, can you really see that taking off across Australia?
Yeah, look, do you know what? I think it has to. The amount of money the government's taking from the fuel excise is going down because more people are opting for hybrids and there's some far more electric cars hitting the roads, that amount of money is actually disappearing. And we saw the Victorian government try a wrong way of going about taxing electric motorists, but I think the government on a federal level will need to start looking at the vehicles to try and see how that road use tax goes through. And like I said, in New South Wales, it's already happening. So whether or not this flows on to Victoria or other states, it's only time will tell.
James, you mentioned weight. Wouldn't that pick up EVs that have these big batteries in them?
Do you know what? That is a really good point. I came here today in an electric SUV that weighs 2.5 tonne. So that is larger and heavier than the Land Rover Defender used by the councillor in their sort of argument against the vehicles that they're not to encourage, and yet EVs are said to be exempt. So what is it? Is it a problem of weight and size, or is it a problem of emissions? And I think this is one of the things that the council probably needs to figure out.
I'd love a Ram or a Silverado, but I can't get up into them. They're so high.
A little ladder on the side.
I'll help you up, Pricey.
You can actually get them with motorised side steps that come down so they can help you into them.
You beauty. I'm in. Fantastic.
James, I have to go buy a second-hand car very soon, and I was wondering, my dad can't make it. Could you come with me, do you think?
Absolutely. We'll go kick some tyres, check in the glove box, all those right things. We'll find you a good car.
James, thanks so much for your insights.
Thank you.
These lefty Green councils really annoy me with these moronic laws about how they're going to tax. What happens when you got your little cottage in Richmond and you want to renovate it? Yeah. And your builder turns up in his Ford Ranger with a trailer on the back. They're going to charge him more to park there, are they? He's going to go, well, that's going onto your bill, mate.
Yeah, attach it to like a Honda Jazz or something.
What?
The trailer.
Oh,
are you saying when you renovate your house, the main cost you're worried about is parking costs?
Well, it's one of the reasons. But, I mean,
okay.
seriously, I mean, these councils are just completely out of control.
I love this. This is like playing Steve Frost bingo.
You never know which is... Also, guys, it's not that hot in Melbourne today. I don't know if you were...
Did you hear about this?
It's really hard to know what's going on.